So basically, what you've just been saying is like kind of thematic for our podcast, which is we're always trying to communicate because it's not easy to kind of tell people that what they generally, especially younger people, say, let's say people that have only been involved growing cannabis or smoking cannabis, say in the last 10 or 15 years, yeah, and they've only generally grown genetics that have been created in the last 10 or 15 years. Well, what they've experienced is almost like an almost entirely different. I would, when I use the word drug, but you know what I'm saying. Almost say plant. It's almost an entirely different plant to what we're talking about and what we had post pre 2000. Yeah, the effects of the best of my genetics, of all time one, are completely on another level to the majority of things people can experience today with modern genetics. You know, there's not just in terms of how long they last, like we talk about the ceilingless highs and how you only need to smoke a little to have, you know, hours long effects. Even if you're a heavy smoker, particularly if you are a heavy smoker of the modern day stuff, it absolutely knocks cookie smokers for six, you know. Um, but like the diversity of effects, the range of effects, more than like the modern day stuff is just generally, not always, but generally, we're talking a boring effect. Certainly for me, a boring, just there aren't really many effects. So if there is an effect, it's short lived and it's not stimulating in any way. Whereas that we've had Mr. Sauer on recently, and we've got Real Genetics, Sativa Steve just come on recently. We've got to put his episode out, and yourself talking about how these effects are more motivating, more stimulating, more mentally and physically stimulating. You know, there's just effects in the old gene pool that's just not in the modern gene pool, to put it in simple terms. And until you experience that old gene pool, you're not really going to understand. Like people talk about highs almost like the onset of a mushroom trip. There's some psychedelic effects. Some people talk like almost like a MDMA type feeling. Especially with the smile, actually, that was people. There was an MDMA pheno of smile people used to have in the UK. Maybe it's still around, but smile, old timer one smile. It was named that obviously because it makes you happy and smile. And people used to
Yeah.
call it Prozac in the seed. And that's why this year or last year when I was growing this year's genetics, I was really happy to find a good number of smile type plants pop up out of the seeds that I'd germinated. You know, I was getting that terpene profile because it's a very distinctive terp profile, the original smile. And I recognized it immediately because I've always loved that variety. And I was like, this is amazing. We're going to, you know, this is where I'm going to take my focus this season onto more smile type plants because the high is so wonderful, really. You know, it's just for body, mind, and soul. It's amazing. And yeah, the Star 23, that was the one that was closest in terp profile to Smile. And then I've got the Rotten Berry Skunk Smile, which started off very small, like, but in flower took on an extra top layer of really raunchy skunk. So it was, to be honest, a bit nicer than the original Smile and like an improvement. And then I've got the Tropical Fruit Smile, which again it has got the terp profile of Smile, but with really mouth-watering tropical juice flavors as well. So yeah, man, you've got to try that raunchy skunk haze too. That is, I'm going to get some flower of that very soon from a grower in the UK. He's been growing some out, and so far it's just looking so beautiful. Rotten meat and skunk terps. So yeah, you've got to try that one. But the effects, to get back to the effects, that is the beautiful thing about the old timer one gene pool. That was his motto almost. And I did actually have it as my hashtag on my profile when I first joined Instagram. And then that little rat mass medical stole it. Select for effect. Because
No
that is
shit.
what old timer one used to say. Select for effect, select for excellence, and reject all else. Anything that doesn't meet the level of excellence, just reject it, you know, can't get it out of the gene pool. So he always made a phenomenal job of selecting stuff that had great effects on his mind. Really, he really liked the hazes as well.
Yeah.
He kept like a herm haze, which he said was, it was a proper herb, but it was like acid. So he didn't give a fuck. The high was like
Yeah.
acid, so he kept it for that purpose. So he really did just a phenomenal job of creating a gene pool that encapsulated many, many really pleasant, nice effects, which you're just not going to find these days.
No, I agree. So a lot of the highs that I missed when I was younger that you don't see is A, that it would last, 3 or 4 hours and it would be pretty strong for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And you were talking about a ceiling. Like I remember, a lot of times we would judge herb like you take a bull pack or two bull packs. If it was more than two bull packs, it wasn't good. If you were able to pack one bull, a standard one of those old school metal bowls, you know what I'm talking about? Just
Yeah.
the regular one with the twist top on it. If you could smoke one of those, that was some good weed. If you could take 4 or 5 hits off of that and just cap it, you knew you had something exceptional. And then one of the problems was is a lot of times you didn't know what you're getting. So,
Yeah.
a lot of times you just kind of equated it to the smell. And so you had the cat piss back in the day, and you had that creeper. The creeper was nice. At first you thought you kind of got ripped off because you smoke it, and then you're kind of like, what the
Bro, you
fuck?
will find some creepers in old time of
Yeah,
Wandsworth, especially the Tip Town tickets, man. You can take like 10 or 15 minutes and then bam.
yeah. It's funny because I remember being a kid like, oh man, I got robbed. This motherfucker. You start getting mad, you get worked up, and then all of a sudden you just snap out of it and you've been zoned out for 5 minutes staring at some shit, giggling and smiling. And that's
Yeah.
one thing that I miss is like that happy high. So,
Yeah.
you were talking about cookies and gelatos and things of that nature. I feel it's a generic high.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you the full quality. And a lot of that I have to feel was when they started breeding for THC and flavor and not actual effect. And
It's like soulless weed.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's definitely like it's like half. It's like there's something missing.
I'll
Yeah.
So
tell you this, even if you grow those genetics to the peak of their potential, the you just build such a
It makes
fast
no
tolerance.
difference.
You build
well,
such a fast tolerance. You'll have it, it'll hit like old school maybe the first day, but by day two, like it's done, bro. That stuff don't
it,
hit no more.
it's funny you said that. So I actually ended up somehow on Instagram getting up with the cannabinoid advisor, and he had the CBGA, which is supposed to balance your ECS and help with your
Yeah.
tolerance. This was never a problem when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
If you built up a tolerance to that weed, you knew it was shit. That's what I was about to say when you were talking about a ceiling. We used to be able to determine like if I could smoke two bowls and I'm pretty high, but I go to smoke a third one and I don't get any higher, it's really not that good. I like that weed. I could smoke, take like 4 or 5 hits, put it down, and then hit it again and just get even higher. 2 hours later, if I need to smoke, I get even higher. But a lot of times I smoke, I'm high for a good 3 or 4 hours. I don't have to. Nowadays, I'm smoking, you know, like a gram every hour or something.
Yeah.
And you would
Yeah.
never have to do that when you were younger back in the day. And I
No.
really miss the happy highs, just the giggly, the smile. You can't even walk into a building without people knowing because you just start laughing. You just you just start teasing. You get a perma smile. I remember being younger. One of the first times I really got high off of. Actually, it was some weed from New York. I was living in New Hampshire at the time. I was probably about 13, 14. And I smoked weed before, but it was like kind of garbage, dirt Mexican stuff, like that flat brick weed. He smoked that with me, and I just could not get rid of the smile on my face. It would not go. It was like just the biggest perma smile. It would not go away. And everywhere I went, people would look at me, and I just could not get rid of it. I just start laughing uncontrollably. And I don't think I've seen weed like that since I was probably 19. I think
Well,
it
I
was
used
all.
to think, I used to think that, oh, because I smoke every day now. Once, as I got into my 20s or whatever, I was like, you smoke every day. Maybe it's just your tolerance has gone up. But it's not that. It's the effects. Weeds became shitter. It's not that my tolerance became more. Obviously, my tolerance did become more, but it wasn't that as such. It was the quality of weed went down over the years.
Yep. And so I'm lucky enough to live in an area where there are a lot of people who gatekeep old school strains. So I didn't actually realize how lucky I was until A few of those people stopped or got in trouble, or a few of them had passed away and shit has happened. So I lost contact with a lot of the local growers, but they had a lot of good stuff going on, and some of that stuff is still around. I just not in contact with the main people of that. And then all of a sudden all the Cali weed was coming through. So before, you'd have the beasters and stuff from, Canada. So you knew you were getting subpar stuff, but it was cheap and you can make money. But nowadays, you get various qualities of Cali weed. And the one thing I don't like about it is some of it is good, but I don't like the way it makes my lungs feel. Whatever they're growing on it, whatever they're spraying it with, whatever they're putting on it, PGRs, whatever they're growing, it's very heavy on the lungs. I feel like when I smoke, it's like almost kind of suffocating. When I roll up some local grower stuff, or some like craft stuff, that might come from out of state, from Colorado or Massachusetts, at some good grower, not just the regular dispensary stuff. I feel it. It's completely different. I can breathe better. I feel better. The high is cleaner. I feel like a lot of some of the highs of the new strains is all the chemicals pumped into it.
Well, I think people are going to love the eucalyptus skunks and the eucalyptus hazes that I put into the Medipack, because they really do open up your airways and help you breathe better, and lung expansion and all that. And really noticeably.
It was nice to hear that you had something like that, because a lot of people don't realize that, weed could help with asthma and stuff. Depends on how you smoke it and you take it. I mean, obviously, if you abuse anything, there'll be, problems. But a lot of people really aren't aware of the effects and the medicinal qualities.
Bro, no lie. I've found plants that are like identical to Vicks Vapor Rub, and identical in how it's identical in how it smells, and identical in how it affects. Like if you're smelling the plant as it's alive and growing, it literally clears your sinuses like you're smelling Vicks Vapor Rub.
That was one interesting thing that I found when you were talking about your strains, is the wide variety that you were able to acquire from the couple of selective breedings that you did.
Do you know what? It amazes me actually sometimes when I think about it. It's just, man, I just call it a gift from God, really, because what I started with originally to what I created is fucking wild. The amount of stuff I got, and even stuff that Old Timer One lost, I managed to refind, like his lavender haze. He was go on.
The one thing that I loved about cannabis was the amount of wide variety, ranges, terpene profiles, effects, and everything in that plant. I mean, you can almost find any flavor on the planet through that strain. It's wild. I'm not sure. I'm not a botanist or expert, but I don't know how many strains of plants on this planet that could actually do that.
yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, I don't think there is any other species of plant that
smells like death.
Everything, as you say, like every fruit.
Exactly. Grapefruit, tangerine. I mean, bubblegum. I mean, what the fuck?
There's plants
that blew my mind. Like you got bubblegum and cotton candy and pineapple and fucking rotten.
You will find all that in the Turktown tickets. I used to publish a list of what people have found in a Turktown ticket. And it's endless. Every fruit you can think of, without exception, including like durian fruits and all kinds of exotic fruits. There's all the spices through from vanilla and cinnamon and all kinds of spice flavors and aromas. There's the rotten dead animal flesh bodies. There's the shit, the vomit, all those disgusting things. The ammonia. How does a plant produce ammonia that will fucking make your eyes water? That's repulsive, and it smells like it should be inside a chemical factory. And
that was the one that I had gotten from the outside with my friend's father. That shit was just like really ammonia. It was like a nasty like gym shirt / ammonia in a bucket. Like
I've come across vomit, which is like extreme bile that will literally turn your stomach churning. It'll make you gag. There's like the effects you smell in some of these plants will have on you. people are just not prepared for, you know, compared to what's been available before now. And
Yeah,
I've even come across things that there is no description for. And I mean no description. I cannot categorize it at all. I can't say it's like this, that, or the other, because there's nothing I've ever experienced to compare it to. It's completely new to me. Like I remember, like when I was growing out, the last few breedings I've done, being a few years younger, I remember thinking, I'm 40 years of age, 41 years of age, and this is the first time in my life I've ever encountered this smell, and it is completely unlike anything I've ever encountered, and I cannot describe it in any way. In fact, the only way, if I could put any description on it, the only word I could come up with was cold. It was like a feeling rather than anything else. It's fucking bizarre, bro. And that's
yeah,
happened in the last 2 seasons that I've bred seeds. I've come across each time just one, maybe two plants out of all the hundreds that there's just no description for. It's alien. It's bizarre, you know?
yeah. I've had a few of those throughout my time, and I just call it chronic. I just leave it at that. It's like it's some fire, it's some chronic. I can honestly tell you, I don't know what it is. I'll give you the genetics.
Play-Doh's an odd one. I found that a couple of years ago, Play-Doh, but I still was able to describe it because it smelled like Play-Doh.
Yep.
But so some things just absolutely, they're not like anything, not just any cannabis, but anything I've ever experienced. You know, it's weird.
Electrical fire. Can't forget that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Somebody found
Triple.
that. Yeah. Just madness. Some of the tips in the tip town tickets. You know.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I met like at the time I kind of like I was tied up. I was doing a breeding with dogs. So I had American bullies. I put a lot of money into it. I spent a lot of time research, did DNA testing, genetics, and all that stuff. So I had my money tied up when you were doing the breeding and you were selling packs. And the cherry cola stood out to me. I really wanted to buy the last pack that you had, and I wasn't able to. And I was like, but I was able to get the Terp Town ticket, so I got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping I find like a sarsaparilla or like a cherry cola or that raunchy skunk that everybody's looking for. You know?
I was, well, the skunk is certainly possible. It's basically when I give a tip town tickets out, they're usually 30 to 50 seeds, so everyone finds skunk in those. Very, very, very rare anybody doesn't. And it's just statistical, I guess, because they're a random mix of seeds of 60 different mothers
Well,
pollinated
I
by
have
one father.
got a decent amount of the Terp Town that you sent me. Plus, I have that original one, probably maybe another 30 or 40 seeds of that, probably maybe 30 seeds of that. So that one I think had more some of the boss in it. So I got my fingers crossed I'll find something good out of that. But the Chinese lizard wine is standing out, but I'm gonna wait on that for a little bit because I wanted to do the frankincense and
Yeah.
some of that Terp Town. There's another breeder I got seeds from. Their stuff is supposed to kind of smell like frankincense. So if I get a female and I don't really happen to get a male, I want to cross those two together and get some extra like frankincense haze, old school fire in the mix back in New York. There's a lot of old school. There's good hazes, but there's also a lot of subpar stuff. So I was hoping when I got your stuff, I'm gonna find something that stands out so I can enter it in one of the New York's grower competitions.
Yeah, well, I hope to find something nice in that frankincense haze because it's not really available anymore because I put it into the Medipack mix. Well, I made so many varieties and people are having trouble deciding what they want to go for, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
just
saw
sort of,
that actually. I got a little nervous. I was like, shit, I should have got it sooner. And I reached out to you, and you're like, no, I have a few set aside. I'll be able
yeah,
to
yeah.
help you out with. So I was like, all right, cool. But for a second, my heart dropped. I was like, fuck, I missed out on that too. I'm like, ah,
Well, that Medipack is a great option for everybody, literally for anybody and everybody. It's got 15 different varieties. It's a good balance of skunk and haze. There's a lot of interesting haze genetics in there, a lot of skunk genetics in there. And as I say, I put them, most of them, into that mix simply because after smoking them, you can just tell that some of my varieties just super nice, recreational, relaxing, beautiful flavors, blah, blah, blah. But then there's others that are significantly more medicinal in their effects, even, perhaps they've got higher CBD levels in. People have found 2 to 1 CBD to THC plants when they've done testing. But there's some like the eucalyptus skunk, just you can tell it's like anti-inflammatory, it's super relaxing, pain relieving, opens up your airways. It's got more medicinal effects, as it were, than perhaps other varieties I've got, So all of those things, plus a couple of weird things I chucked into the Medipack mix, just because I think it's a good thing to do. It basically gives people the opportunity to have a wide range of genetics, which they wouldn't have otherwise. Rather than, you've got 15 packs to select from, you can get one pack where you can get a good mixture of all of them in, or at least a good percentage of them in. Maybe if you buy 3 or 4 of those packs, you're going to get something from everything that's in there.
See,
But
I like that because I feel like a lot of people, especially newer growers, don't really know what they want. So they'll go for
100%.
hype. They'll go for the hype shit. So
Yeah.
if you actually just throw them a mix pack and say, hey, you're looking to grow something good, you're looking to grow something different, here's a variety. If you find something out of it that you're interested, my seeds are legit, then you can start going through my library and finding something that will interest you. So the fact that you offer not only a mix pack, but a pack that is, highly medical qualities to it and properties, a lot of people aren't doing that. They're trying to find the most flavorful, stinkiest, without that extra effect that a lot of people forgot about.
Yeah.
People, and a lot of people, out there, older generations probably, experimented more with like, drugs or, mescaline and like, acid, and things like that. So when you talk about a trippy high, a lot of them don't know what you're talking about. Or a psychedelic high or something that's on a different level than what they know, because that's all they know. So if they experience just the high alone, without the flavor and the hype and the bullshit, and then they're like, wow, I've never felt like this before.
Yeah.
And the flavor was unique and interesting. I remember last year or the year before, I had sent my nephew a few different things that I had done. And he's only used to like, Cali weed and things like that. And he told me, I've never thought weed could smell like this.
Yeah.
He's like, I've never smelled weed like this before. And I sent him something, I can't remember what it was. He said it kind of smelled like cheese and other things. I sent him like my G13 haze or whatever. It's kind of like different uniques. I know a lot of them haven't smelled the hazes, like especially like, like a more like a earthy sandalwood, lemony, like a sweet funk to it,
Yeah, G13 haze is nice, man. I used to get that back in the day straight from Shanty's greenhouses, grown by Shanty.
Dude, you're lucky. I wish. So I actually, the one that I have isn't from Shanty. The first one that I ever had, I honestly not sure what seed company it came from. I got it from like Cannabis seedco.nl or something like that. And it was amazing. It was top notch. And so I lost that. And I went and got another one. So the G13As I have right now is the Barney Farms. And it's pretty nice. They say it's supposed to be one of the most potent or whatever. I'm not sure about that, but it is very nice, and it's definitely long flowering, good sativa, nice body, relaxing effect. You can feel like the blood rush, like it's almost like your body's kind of humming. You ever smoke and lay down and you feel I call them the womb wombs because your body's like womb, womb, womb.
Yeah.
I miss that, and a lot of herb doesn't have that. So the fact I was able to pull that out. Now I know you're not a fan of certain growers and stuff, but I had crossed it with the bubble gum. I like the flavor and stuff, but I was able to pull out some of the floral notes with that and combine it with this, and I was pretty happy with the actual medicinal effects that you don't see with a lot of the new stuff, like the runts and the gelatos. And so I'm interested because I crossed with the cat piss, skunk piss. I crossed my G13 Haze bubblegum male with, and I'm interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah,
because I went some of the old school with the old school. I mean, yeah, certain breeders done certain stuff, and in the past or whatever, and I'm looking for the genetics. There's some people I'm not going to support, or I've tried their gear and I'm not happy with, but there are other people. Let's say I respect their work, even though I might not like them. I'll give respect where respect's due and credit where credit's due, but I might not really advertise them or buy any future genetics from them. But if I have their stuff and I like it, I'll use it. But I tried when I was younger. There was a lot of strains I couldn't get, so I was really interested in the old school strains, and all the new hype was coming out, and it was harder to get some of those seeds and some of those strains. So to be able to get your old school with these strains that I really wanted to try when I was younger and wasn't able to, just really was like the icing on the cake for me when I got those packs.
Well, I think we're all pretty fortunate, really, for the work of Oldtimer One. If he'd never done all the work he did do, I wouldn't have had the seeds to make my selections from. Um, Pretty much all I can say about Oldtimer One, really. He's dead now, but he did pretty excellent work. So yeah, RIP Oldtimer One. Thanks for the genetics.
No,
And
just happy you're able to acquire them. There's a lot of old school stuff around here, but not like a wide variety. And the amount that's available, is limited. So I know you got other genetics in this area that are going. So they're alive and thriving over here, and eventually, hopefully, you'll be getting the credit where credit's due. It just might take some time.
It is what it is, bro. At the end of the day, all these cunts working for me, aren't they? All the ones that are fucking working with my shit and not telling people, they're still fucking
It's
working for
still,
me.
you
They're
know what I
still
mean?
doing my
So
job, sending the genetics out to the world, improving the gene pool of my genetics. It's just sad for them that there's such fucking little pieces of shit that they can't fucking tell the truth about it. But that's just embarrassing, cringy, sad. I can't imagine being that kind of an individual. So you just got to feel sorry for these little pricks, really. But they're still
yeah, I
working for
just feel
me.
like some of it's unnecessary. I just feel like in the nature of the business, you'll come across that though. You always got, people who aren't gonna just want to tell people what they have so they can't go get it. And then, sometimes they don't like somebody, but they'll get their stuff and then they'll, talk bad about them, even though they have their work and they're working it.
I've seen
Um,
countless people do it, bro. I've always said the cannabis industry's got more cunts, cocks, and assholes than the porn industry.
yeah, I spent so like a lot. I didn't mess with people for a long time because I didn't like a lot of the way that people were like, things changed from back, in the Grateful Dead time and the Fish era, and people were a lot more like giving and open to sharing and knowledge and like, hey, try this, try something new and stuff. It turned a lot of it, changed with the money. The money kind of corrupted it and fucked it all
One
up.
million percent, bro. 1 million percent. And Instagram. Instagram's fucked everything up
So
too.
I never was on really any platforms. A few of my friends went on platforms. I stayed away from social media. I didn't use credit cards. I always was cash. I would have people order stuff for me and stuff like that. And I never went on social media. And I had, did the bully breeding and I was out of work and I was like doing my thing. And New York was starting to come legal. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and make an Instagram page and profile and hang back and, just be quiet and watch, who the fuck am I, and I get on Instagram and it's an interesting little circus going on.
Yeah, it is for
And
sure.
I've met some really legit people and I've met some really cool people. And, I don't know everything. I know a lot about a little, there's so much that I would like to learn or that I know about that I just haven't been able to like see or done hands on. Cause, I used to devour material. Anytime I can get something when I was younger, I'd read it. And here, like a lot, what I was saying earlier in the other part was how some people need to be a little more appreciative because they got just a wealth of knowledge on here. If you can pick the right people's brains and not the people spreading misinformation or hate or whatever, you can find people that will speed up 5-6 years off of your trial and error. And so I feel that that's really great. But the drama that comes and is associated with it is kind of fucking toxic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a whole fucking subject in and of itself these
Yeah, that's a
days. But
whole different situation. But I can't even post my one haze without it getting taken down or reported. I've tried like 3 times and I keep getting reported. I'll post other stuff and it won't get taken down, but I'll post this one thing, and I'll post something and on my story and it gets taken down and it's just so petty and it's nothing, really bad. And I feel like I had to delete some people and block people and it stopped happening. But you wonder why. Like, did you not like the music I posted with my shit? Did you not like the fact that my shit actually looked good and my grow room doesn't look like, everybody else's, because I come from the era where you kind of had to set up and break down fast, you don't really have the luxury of building a really beautiful room unless you own a house out in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, I had a couple people like, oh, I like how simple your room is. I'm like, look, I like to have it set up and broken down in an hour or less. Um, you know, because things can happen, God forbid, but, it's kind of a different thought and generation, versus being able to post all your face and your grow room on social media and not even have a skip of your heartbeat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they should definitely be a little more happy and appreciative, because we not 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, wouldn't even think of having a podcast, or YouTube channel conversation,
Yeah. Yeah.
you wouldn't even ask somebody. You wouldn't even ask them to see their grow room because you probably never talk to them again.
Yeah, it's definitely different times, and different times bring different people, and I guess you just have to try and connect with the good, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, so I hung back for a while, was just quiet, watching, things go on, who's who, finding, people whose genetics I grew and was just like, oh, this is amazing. I fucking, these guys, were pioneers of this, and a lot of people are forgotten, like, and then you come across them, you're like, oh shit, I remember reading about these guys in High Times magazine. I remember reading about their grows and their step by steps. And, I remember, getting the cannabis culture and then being in there and, you know, reading like, Jorge Cervantes books and, you know, uh, Mark Emery back in the day sending out all of his seeds, Woody Harrelson planting seeds in the ground as he's getting arrested, whole different era, like, the perspective is different, what we have than what they
It
have.
was better back in the day, bro. I wish it was still like that now, really. I kind of wish, yeah, I
It's
kind
a,
of
it's
wish
a
things were just
50-50.
like they were 20 years ago, but we
You
sort of
know,
had Instagram, you know?
it's a gift and a curse.
Instagram,
It's a
Instagram,
50-50.
I hate, but it
Yeah.
has kind of been beneficial also, you know? But
You know,
I still wish people were more on forums than on Instagram now, you know? Instagram on the whole has been pretty bad for the community, I think, you know?
yeah, hopefully they do change their guidelines. Not sure if that's going to happen anytime soon, but I was thinking about going on another forum, looking at
It'd be
something
great.
different.
I would love it if all the people growing my stuff went on forums more, because it's almost like a battleground I can't be bothered contending with these days. You know, Instagram takes enough of my time. I know there's been quite a lot of shit talking cunts on forums, which I can't be bothered to respond to, but it would be better because they're more permanent as well. You know, with so many accounts being lost on Instagram, stuff tends to last longer on forums, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But,
hopefully,
bro, I
more
just got
people
to
will.
finish your point, bro, because we're just coming up to the end of this episode. Well, I'd love to have you on numerous times in the future, but we're going to wrap up this one in about 2 minutes. So if you want to close off on a final point.
No, we can go ahead and end there. I'm just happy to be able to get a, wide variety of old school genetics, and I'll be doing some more, and I'll keep you guys updated. And when this one finishes up and it's cured, we can have another one, and I'll send you guys some pictures and stuff, and we'll talk about that plant.
Yeah, if you could
Yeah, it would
come
be
on
sick, man.
when after you've harvested, bro, and talk about what the harvest was like, what the smoke's like, that would be great.
Yeah,
As I
we'll see
say,
we'll see if it, if any of that terpene profile changes as it dries and cures. We'll see what happens with that one.
yeah, smoke it like as soon as it's dry, bro. I'm a big advocate of smoking something pretty much as soon as you're able to, you know. I'm not
Yep.
like a big fan of curing for long times. It's nice to have cured stuff if you happen to be able to keep it that long. But, you know, the
I
jungle
do it in all
boys,
different stages.
the
I like to
jungle
do,
boys did a
I
lot
do
of
samples.
testing,
Yeah,
and
I
they
do a
just
couple day
found
samples.
that it just, you know, as every passing day, tips decrease, you know. So I like it fresh.
Yep.
Yeah, it also depends on how you're storing it and stuff like that. I do feel like a lot of people don't really fully understand that, but
Nah, storing is key,
yeah.
the right, humidity, temperature, glass is nice, you know.
Yeah.
Vacuum seal is good, you know, as long as you don't crush it and fuck it up. But yeah.
Obviously, yeah, it's the worst. But
Well,
yeah,
peeps, we got about 30 seconds left, so I just
All
want
right.
to
Good
thank you
talking to
for
you
coming
guys.
on. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
coming
having me
on.
on.
Thanks everybody for listening. Please hit the subscribe and check out previous episodes and catch us on the next one. Thank you.